Hello everyone, my name is SwingPoynt and welcome to Resident Evil Resistance. This is the multiplayer game bundled with Resident Evil 3. And today what we're going to do is we're going to show you what is going on in Resident Evil Resistance. Let's say you just bought the game, or you're checking it out because it sounds kind of cool, or maybe you went to a Twitch stream and you tried paying attention to what was going on, and there's numbers up here and faces on the side over there, and things are exploding, and there's so many things going on that you don't even know what you're supposed to ask. This video is going to be perfect for you. And let's say you're really familiar with the game, you're probably still going to learn a couple of things here too. And I can already hear people in the comments, why are you making this video? It is January 2021. This game came out 9 freaking months ago. Reason being is the game's been going on sale a lot, and there's a lot of new players coming in. So this video might be really useful for those types of folks. And the game has changed a lot since the game came out back in April. So this is going to be an up-to-date guide as to what you should be paying attention to when you play the game. Okay, so let's click start here, get you acclimated with what's going on. I'm playing on PS5 right now. It works really well on PS5. And let's start with the basics. So once you first get into the game here, you're going to go through some of these screens. And first off, what you need to do is play the tutorial. If you own the game, play the tutorials. They'll teach you a lot. There's a Mastermind tutorial and there's a Survivor tutorial. But now let's say you don't own the game and you just want to learn something. Well, I'm going to be able to help you out here. So let's go to Customize. And like I said, there's two different sides to the game. There's Survivors and there's Masterminds. Now, the way this game is structured is there's one Mastermind in any given game, and there's 4 survivors. So if you're familiar with Dead by Daylight, think of it as there's 1 killer and 4 survivors. Same concept. There are 5 different masterminds that you can pick from, and there are 7 different survivors that you can pick from. So an example match would be, let's say it's Annette versus Valerie, January, Tyrone, and Sam. Okay? So what are you supposed to do when you're in this game? Let's start with the survivors. The survivor's job is to escape the map. There's going to be 4 of you all working together to try and do a series of objectives to progress through the maps and then finally escape at the end of the game. And then for the masterminds, their job is just to get in the way. It's to resist the survivors from escaping. If they can make it so that the survivors can't escape, the mastermind wins. And we'll go into a little bit more detail as to how that works. Well, let's start with a little bit more information on the survivors here, and then I'll show you what it actually looks like in a game. Okay? So each survivor here has their own specialty. If you take a look at the text down below, there's blue text. That's what their specialties are. So Valerie, she's a support/healing character. I'd also argue she's really good with explosives. January, she's a damage/hacking character. We'll talk about cameras later and why hacking's important. Tyrone here is a tank or brawler. He's a defensive character. Sam is a damage or an offensive melee brawler. Martin does support and traps. So really what he does is he's really good at dealing with traps. He's good at placing traps down, and he's really good at stunning creatures that the mastermind will spawn in. And then Becca and Jill are both really good at firearm damage. Okay? And to talk a little bit more about how unique each character is, if I select Becca here, you'll see that Becca has a fever skill, a personal skill, and 2 passive skills. Now, every survivor has a fever, a personal, and 2 passive skills, but they're all very, very different based on each survivor. So Becca's, since she's a firearms character, are going to be more based around her firearms, right? So what is a fever skill? A fever skill is like an ultimate ability. You get to use it once every few minutes. It's a game changer. It's a really big deal. Watch out when it's happening. Every single character has these, both on the mastermind side and on the survivor side. Personal skill here is something that you can activate every once in a while. So in Becca's case, she can go in and out of this stance called Swift, which means she goes onto one knee and then she starts doing more damage. And then they have 2 passive skills, and passive skills, what those are is they're just kind of innate abilities. They're always affecting the character, but you don't have to, touch anything on your controller to make it work. It's just always happening. And then to take it to another level, there's variance on all of these skills as well. This is what I love about this game, is there's just so much depth. So if you take a look at Becca here, it says her fever skill is called In the Zone, and headshotting creatures extends the duration of her skill by 3 seconds per hit. Okay? But now if I select Bullet Storm here, you'll see there's 2 other variations. So there's 3 different ways that you can use her fever skill, or 3 different functions that it can have. Same with her personal skill. And then her passive skills have 4 different variations each. And again, each survivor has that. There's a lot of depth in this game, and you can build out your characters pretty much any way you want. And then on top of that, you can put equipment on them as well. And equipment further modifies the character. So it'll provide them with more critical hit damage, or more critical hit chance, or more firearm damage, or they're more resistant to poison, or they're more like again, there's so many of them. I could go on all day about all the different pieces of equipment. There's a lot to this game, okay? And it gives you a lot of opportunity to test a bunch of different things, a bunch of different strategies. You can spend many hours just building out different ideas for your characters. There's a ton of depth in this game. But now we're not going to go too much into all the different types of builds that we can do for each character. I have so many videos on the channel about different builds for literally every single character in the game, both survivors and masterminds. If there's one that you want to check out, let's say you want to play Tyrone. Well, look up SwingPoynt Tyrone, and then there'll be a bunch of builds that come up. Or let's say you want to play Jill, look up SwingPoynt Jill Resident Evil Resistance. It'll come right up for you, and then you can start building out your characters in case you need some help. Okay? So let's go ahead and talk about how the game works. Let's give you an actual idea of what's actually happening in front of you when you load into a game, okay? So let's go into practice mode here. One thing that this game does have is a practice mode. So if you want to be able to play the game or understand the maps a little bit better, you can do so without having to feel like somebody's breathing down your neck. You can take it at your leisure, which is really cool. So since we were talking about Becca, let's go ahead and be Becca and show you what happens right when you first load into the game, okay? The key to winning is not losing. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, but I must do this. I am as trapped on this path as you are.
Is it me, or does she sound kind of sad?
So something that happens when you load into the game is the mastermind talks crap, and you tend to talk crap back. When you first get in, there's a few things that you'll see. The first thing you need to pay attention to is the top of the screen. You see that timer? That is how this game works. If that timer reaches 0, the survivors lose. If that timer reaches 0, the mastermind wins. Okay? The timer is everything, and we'll talk about how you can influence the timer once we get a little bit further in here. But again, the timer is everything. On the left-hand side of the screen, those are the survivors, and the mastermind at the very bottom. You can see how much health the survivors have based off the little bar next to their name. It'll either be green, yellow, or red. And if their picture is entirely red, that means that they are downed and they are at risk of dying and respawning. Okay? Bottom right-hand corner shows some of your skills. It shows your personal skill with the R1, and it shows your fever skill with the L1 plus R1. So mine's currently trying to load because, like I said earlier, those are things that show up once every couple of minutes. And let's go check out what we're doing here. So when you first load in, you're in a safe area. Nothing can hurt you. You're fine. And then in front of you here, you have this box. Look at the box, and there's a bunch of different items. These are the items that you can buy as a survivor. So you'll see that little red icon with a 250 next to it. That's how much currency you have, and then everything here is how much those things cost. Now, please, if you're new to this game, buy something, okay? Please. Way too often, way too often do people start with their basic mup pistol here, their ammo and their herb, and then they just go in there la-di-da-di-da-di-da, and they die. The mup sucks. Look at this. This is as fast as this thing can shoot. Please, for the love of God, buy something. You have these credits for a reason. So Becca here actually does really well with the quick draw, so I'd recommend buying the quick draw for Becca. All these guns do something different. Things that spawn here are random as well. There's a lot of RNG as to what guns you're going to get at the beginning of the game, and then in Area 2 and Area 3. But, again, please, just buy something, okay? Okay. So, you bought your pistol here. You got it equipped. And then you went ahead and you threw out your mup because you don't need it because the mup sucks. And, oh, you saw this thing sitting here. You pick that up, and then you go out of the safe area and go, let's go do so. Oh!
Embrace your end.
You ran into a trap right away, okay? You gotta watch your feet sometimes, man. So a few things happened there. So I ran into a trap, and what happened when I ran into the trap was not only did something happen to Becca here, but you saw the timer. The timer went down by 5 seconds. It said -5. That's a big deal. That is the function of this game. If anything negative happens to the survivors, the timer goes down. If anything positive happens to the survivors, the timer goes up. All right? So, for example here, here's another trap. Well, let's shoot this one out. Hey, we took out the trap, so we got plus 10 seconds. That was a good action for the survivors. Same thing with creatures here. Well, you got to be careful, though, because if they hit you, they'll take -1. But let's say you go ahead and you take out the creature. Well, then you get +5 back. And each creature has different values that they provide. But again, if you do something good, it's going to make the timer go up. If you do something bad, it's going to make the timer go down. So the Mastermind's job is to try to make a bunch of bad things happen to you, and your job as survivors is to try to do a bunch of good things by taking out traps, taking out creatures, and completing objectives. All right? But one thing you got to be careful here with these traps is, I saw this trap. I'm going to go take it out. Make sure I don't run into it and don't lose time. Well, don't be too close to the traps because they're mean. They can hurt you. And as you can see, Becca's down to yellow health now, and if she goes all the way down to 0, she's gonna kind of pass out, or maybe not pass out, but she's gonna get knocked down to the point where she needs to be revived. So be careful of that too. Now, if we go forward here, what are we even doing here? Each area has their own objective. So in Area 1, which is what we're currently in, if you take a look at the map, this is what Area 1 looks like on downtown.
Thank you for not fighting harder.
What you need to do in Area 1 is you need to pick up 3 items.
I cannot sit idly by
The little
while you
puzzle
attempt
pieces.
to use that.
And then you need to return them or bring them to the drop-off area. But now we got this guy here. Let's just take him out so he doesn't hurt us or bite us. If he bites you, you're going to lose 15 seconds, so be careful of that. We don't got time to lose right now. And as you're going through here, make sure you pick up items. Oh, God, I forgot about him. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. So there's specialty zombies. This one's called the Jester, and he can scream at you. Now kill him. So we got to hustle here. So again, anything that's positive is going to make your timer go up. So we picked up one of those puzzle pieces. Well, if we go ahead and we bring that puzzle piece over to the drop-off area here, which is marked, you'll get plus 20 seconds. And you'll get plus 20 seconds per piece. Now, you can see where the pieces are because we're underneath a minute before the game ends. So that's kind of something that the game provides to you when you're losing to try to help you out. So let's hustle and go pick up these pieces. And then we'll bring them to the drop-off area. And then once we complete the objective in this area, then we're able to advance to Area 2. Okay? So again, let's hustle because we're almost out of time. So we'll get plus 40 seconds here because we're giving 2 more pieces here. And now we can escape. So all we have to do here is walk into this area and we'll advance to the next area. Now, something to keep in mind is all 4 players need to be standing on this together. If you're not there, you're not going to advance, dang it. All 4 of you together need to be there together. So since we're in practice mode, it's only us. We are the only ones we have to worry about. And then since we cleared Area 1, since we completed the objective, we're going to get plus time on our timer here.
I cannot let you live.
And then when you go to the box, there's going to be new things in the box because you're in a new area. You got credits that you can pick up and then also for advancing the area. So now I can buy a shotgun if I want to. Yay. And then I can go ahead and use a shotgun. Shotgun's good for knocking things back. Bam! But it uses up a lot of ammo, so be careful of that as well. Now, let's go ahead and do our objective for Area 2. So what do you do in Area 2? This is what Area 2 looks like on downtown. Every single map, by the way, has the same function. There's an Area 1, an Area 2, and an Area 3. There's 7 maps in this game, and they all have an Area 1, an Area 2, and an Area 3. So it's kind of like, I don't know, 21 maps, really, if you look at it. But now, what do we do in Area 2 here? What we do in Area 2 is we have to find this zombie called Yorick. And he's a security card zombie that has a security card. So we have to kill Yorick. Let's kill Yorick. He's pretty easy to kill, especially in practice mode. 1, 2, 3, bam. So we killed Yorick. And we got a bunch of time for killing Yorick. But now Yorick drops a key. So you saw I just picked up the key here. It's in my inventory, security card. You can also see that on Becca, there's a little key in the icon on the left-hand side of the screen. That means she's holding it. So since Becca has a security card, what she has to do next is deactivate 3 security panels. So it's pretty simple. You just walk up to it and hold a button. But the Mastermind, keep in mind, is going to be trying to resist you during all of these steps. It's not just going to be a walk in the park like we are here in practice mode. There's going to be a bunch of stuff that gets in your way as you're trying to advance. So again, really for the sake of practice here, I'm just going ahead and completing each one of these security panels. And then once all these security panels are done, we will be able to advance to the next area. And again, we should be picking things up as we go too, but I don't really have to worry about that because it's practice mode. So let's go to the final thing here. And then once all 3 of these are done, the objective for the area is completed, and then we can go to the final area, which is Area 3.
Let's get out, folks.
So let's get on out of here. Now, each map has a different area that you walk to, you know, advance to the next area, and you'll become more familiar with those as you play through the maps. But again, we're on a map called Downtown right now. So let's advance. Now we're going into the final area called Area 3. And what you do in Area 3 is very similar to what you do in Area 1 and Area 2. You complete an objective by taking care of 3 things. right? So in area 1, you had to find 3 puzzle pieces and bring them to the puzzle. In area 2, you had to take out Yorick and then deactivate 3 security panels. Well, now in area 3 here, you need to destroy 3 biocores, and I'll show you what the biocores look like, okay? So you go out of the safe area here, and you see these little orange things that are flopping up into the sky. That means that's where the current biocore is, and you need to go and destroy it. So we're gonna go walk on over there with Becca, and these biocores, I think they have about 21,000 health per biocore, so they're pretty chunky. So let's go into the biocore here, and what you'll see is if we can come up here, we can shoot it and we can do damage, and it takes out the health a little bit. Now, pro tip here, there's a few different things that we can do to be better at doing this. One thing that we can do is if you have a yellow herb, you can use that. And a yellow herb makes it so that you get 30% more damage that you can do, and you also take 30% less damage. So that's kind of cool. And you can see if I have a yellow herb affecting me by looking at the little area on the bottom left where you see that herb. That means the yellow herb's currently affecting me. Now, Becca's going to be doing more damage. So if you take a look here, all those numbers were bigger. So that's cool. Other things that Becca can do is she can use her personal skill by pressing R1.
Just like on the range.
Like I said before, Becca does even more damage when she's using her personal skill. So now the numbers are even bigger. So yellow herb and her personal skill means that Becca's going to be doing a ton of damage with her firearms. So let's go ahead and clear this core out, and I'm going to show you something really cool on the next core that you might really, really like. I can come up here with a shotgun as well and go bam, bam. Shotguns are really good for cores, so that's something to keep in mind. So you clear a core, and then you have to go find the next one. There's a bunch of different areas where the cores can spawn on a map, and where they spawn is going to be completely random, so you got to keep an eye out. But now let's go ahead and take out this next one over here, which is right there. And actually, if you want a pro tip for this map, you can actually be kind of sneaky and take out the core from down here and not walk up onto the catwalk, but we're not going to do that right now. I'm going to get up to it so I can show you what I'm talking about with one of Becca's fever skills. All right, so now we're over to the second core here, and you'll see that my yellow herb is no longer active. It only lasts for 60 seconds, so we're not getting that bonus anymore, but that's okay because Becca has a trick up her sleeve. So she can still use her personal skill and do damage or do extra damage while she's on her knee, but something really cool that Becca can do is her fever skill that allows her to have infinite ammo for a certain period of time. So if I go on my knee here and I press her fever skill, she can really pound into this thing. That's one of the cool parts of Becca. And again, each survivor has their own specialty skill, which is really, really cool. Their own specialty fever skill, their own specialty personal skill. They all have things that they're very uniquely good at, which is awesome, and it's a ton of fun. And now since we completed our second core, we only have one core left, and then we're pretty much at the end of the game. But I'm going to show you something here, which is something you got to pay attention to when you play this game. So let me go ahead and soften up the core here, and then I'll show you this element of the game called overtime, because overtime's a really, really big deal. And if you don't understand overtime, you're missing out on a big chunk of this game. So let's take out the core here, make it nice and soft. All right, so we got like what, almost 5 seconds left. I'm going to reach overtime. So when the timer reaches 0, the game's not over yet. It will if that little red bar wraps all the way around that rectangle. So we got to hustle, 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 hustle. Okay, we beat the biocore up, so we got plus 30 seconds. So we have positive 30 seconds now. Oh, okay, so if you have positive time once overtime is over, the game will continue. But if the timer's at 0 still or negative time once overtime's done, then the survivors lose. So overtime's a really, really big deal in this game, and you can kind of use overtime to your advantage when you're a survivor. It makes the game a lot more tense, in my opinion. So when you go ahead and complete all 3 cores, what you have to do to finish the game is you have to go open the door here. And, you know, let's hit overtime again so you can kind of see what this looks like again. So overtime is about to happen. And oh god, we gotta get there. We're going, oh god. And then you go ahead and you can pull the door, and it'll give you plus 60 seconds to work with. And once you pull the door, you'll see this thing. This will start wrapping around in a circle. It's a little umbrella icon. Once that makes a fully red circle, you'll see that you're able to escape the map. So you have to sit here and just kind of stand on your toes for a little bit, or stand on your hands, and you can't escape. So this provides the Mastermind an extra opportunity to take you out right before the game's over. But we made it. We stood around long enough. The Mastermind didn't beat us because, again, we're in practice mode. And then all we have to do to win is everybody has to reach the exit area. So since I'm the only one, I can come over here and we win. That's all the survivors have to do to win. Pretty cool. You get through each area. So again, in area 1, you find 3 puzzle pieces and bring them to the drop-off. In area 2, you kill the security guard zombie named Yorick, and then you disable 3 security panels. And then in area 3,
4 lives against all of humanity.
I'm talking more crap. In area 3, you take out 3 biocores, and then you open the door and escape. Okay, that's every single game of Resistance functions in this same exact way on every single map. So once you got this down, you pretty much understand how the game works from the Survivor side of things. Now, Survivor's only half the game. It might even be less than half the game if you ask my opinion here. And again, part of what I was saying before is there's 7 different maps. So take a look at the maps here. There's downtown, research facility, casino, abandoned park, prison, uptown, and amusement park. We were just on downtown. But again, the rules are the same for every single one. 3 areas, 3 objectives per area, and then the survivors can escape. Now, let's talk about a completely different side of the game here called Mastermind. And now, if you only ever wanted to play Survivor, I still recommend you watch this because I'm going to tell you some things about Survivor that you really need to know, but didn't make sense to talk about until we talk about Masterminds. Now, I showed you Survivors before and how they're all very unique, right? They have their own skills and you can put equipment on them and makes it so that you can build them out pretty much any way you want. Well, Masterminds are very similar, and in fact, you can get even more custom with the Masterminds because of the way that they play. So if you take a look at Mastermind here, we have our 5 Masterminds. Let's take a look at Annette. You'll see that she has a fever skill or ultimate skill, and then she has a couple of passive skills, and then there's these things down here that we'll talk about in a little bit. She also has equipment that you can use to modify how things work for you, and there's a bunch of different equipment for the Mastermind. So these can affect your creatures, they can affect your traps, they can affect your biocores, they can affect your bioenergy, which is something we'll talk about. There's a lot of different things that you can use for equipment. And now the big thing that makes Masterminds completely different from Survivors is that Masterminds don't exist as a person. They are an entity. They are a presence that tries to inflict pain upon the survivors, that tries to resist them, that tries to get in their way with a series of different tools that they have available to them. And their tools are available in this thing called the deck. So the way Mastermind gameplay works is they have a series of cards that they can spend in the game, and then that will produce something. So in this case here, let's say Zombie Dog is one of the cards that we have. If I press Zombie Dog when I'm in a game, it'll help me produce a zombie dog that can attack the survivors. But let's say I have Highly Explosive Landmine. I can press Highly Explosive Landmine, and then that'll produce one of those on the ground that can blow up on the survivors. Every deck has 10 cards in it, and the cards that are in the deck, I mean, there's so many you can pick from. Like, look at this. You have so many options in this game to build out pretty much any kind of deck you want. The possibilities are endless. So when you think of all the different cards that you can have, on top of all the different equipment that you can equip, and all the different skills and variations that each one of these Masterminds can have, there is nearly endless possibilities on how you can play Masterminds. So, you know how I said the survivors are unique at different, uniquely talented at different things? Well, same with the Masterminds. So Annette, she's really good at producing a lot of creatures that can be buffed up and really strong. Daniel's really good at controlling creatures manually. That's something you can do in this game. You can be a zombie and, go smack the survivors. He's uniquely talented at that. Alex is really good at placing traps on the ground, and she's also really good at poisoning survivors, which is a big part of this game that we haven't talked about yet. Spencer's really good at time stalling and just kind of getting in your way. He's really annoying. And then Nikolai is really good at using firearms. We haven't even talked about firearms yet. We haven't talked about a big part of this game, which is cameras. All right? But that'll make more sense when we get into the match. So let's go ahead into a match and see what things look like from the Mastermind side of things so you can understand that a little bit better, right? So let's click start, go into practice mode, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, here we go. Now we're loaded in. So right when you get into the game, let's take a look at all the different things. First thing you got to pay attention to, same thing as the survivors, is the timer at the top of the screen. Now, it says 60 minutes because I extended the timer since we're in practice mode, because I'm going to beat up on these survivors, and that's going to make the timer go down really fast. So we have an extended timer right now. But other things to notice right when you load in here are these 4 cards at the bottom of the screen. Now, I said there's 10 cards in a deck. Well, you only have 4 in your hand at any given time. So there's an element of RNG or chance in this game that you don't know what's going to spawn in your hand next. So sometimes you got to get luck of the draw and get the right card in your hand. So that's an element of this game you got to consider. If you don't know what your cards do, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's an explanation. So this one will spawn 2 zombies. This one will equip a security camera with a machine gun. This one will make it so that cards that are in my hand that are creatures will cost less. And this one places a highly explosive landmine. Now, what are the security cameras, right? What do you mean security camera? Well, you can kind of tell here. That's what I'm looking through. The way the Masterminds play this game is that they look through security cameras. So if I take a look at the map here, there's a bunch of different labeled cameras. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I can go through them by tapping buttons like this, or I can go ahead and just manually go after them like this, right? So the way you play this game again is you look through security cameras at the survivors through fixed angles. You can move the camera around quite a bit, but it does cap out eventually. And then you place cards down to go ahead and try to interrupt the survivors. So what we can do here is I'm going to go ahead and use energy boosted creatures. That'll bring the cost down of the zombies in my hand. And then I can place the zombies down, and there they go. Now you might be wondering, what are these numbers that are all on the bottom of the screen next to the cards and also in the bottom left-hand corner? These numbers are things called bioenergy. Bioenergy is this thing that you are always passively gaining as a mastermind. And it's pretty much your economy or your currency, so that you can't just place endless things down. There's kind of a limit in there to make it so you don't just completely overthrow the survivors. So this costs 3, so you'll see the 16 will go down to a 3. And then the 4 will make it go down to a 9. And then the 2 will make it go down to a 7. And I can just keep using all these cards in my hand. And I'm down to 0, but I keep regaining it passively. Another element of this game is firearms. So once you're looking through these security cameras, you can equip them with guns. So in this case, I have a machine gun here. I can equip that, and then I can shoot Sam. And you'll see when I shoot Sam, time goes down because I'm doing a negative action towards him. And then if I shoot him enough, he's gonna die. So that's what guns do to people. So he went down, and since he went down, they lost minus 15 seconds. You'll also see on the left-hand side of the screen, his icon is red because he's in a downed state. He can't do anything here. He can't use his abilities. He can't pick up items. He's really just at the mercy of time. If no one comes to pick him up on the survivor side, he's gonna die. And then if he dies, he respawns and you lose 30 seconds off the timer. So it's a pretty big deal if one of your friends dies, because not only do they respawn all the way at the beginning area, but then you lose a ton of time. See how he dies? Well, then he's gonna respawn. Another thing you can do is you can interact with the environment. So you see this trap here? Well, I can manually detonate the trap. And whoop, poof. If a survivor was near that, they would have blown up. And not only can you do that with things like traps, you can also lock doors. You can turn off the lights. You can even do it with creatures. So if I put a creature right here, I can control the creature. So I can go in there like this, and now I can control creatures. And each creatures have their own ability. This is a basic zombie, so all he can do is claw and then bite. Oh, or he can try to bite and he can miss. But yeah, you can go ahead and attack survivors like this, do a bunch of damage. It shows you how much damage you do to them. Each survivor has their own amount of health that's very unique to each character, which is one of the things you learn as you play the game. But again, you can bite. And they lose a bunch of time if you bite them, they take a bunch of damage, etc. Now, something you might have noticed there is that Valerie is now purple on the left-hand side of the screen. That means that she's poisoned. And what poison does in this game is, or she's infected. So what infection does in this game is on random intervals, you will have to cough and you can't do anything as a survivor. So you'll be running and everything's fine, and then suddenly and then you can't shoot, you can't attack, you can't run. It's really just like this element of the game that's a big inconvenience to the survivors and makes them more vulnerable. Okay? So since Valerie's close to dying anyway, let's just put her out of her misery. And now she's down. All right, so I'm teaching you a lot of different things here with the Masterminds. I don't want to go through everything because that would just be way too overwhelming, but the one last thing I think we really do need to cover here is the ultimate skills. So the ultimate skills spawn in every few minutes, and I can just be like, "Pop it!"
We will all end like this. William.
And each Mastermind has their own ultimate ability. For Annette here, she has G. Birkin, which is a mutated form of her husband, I believe. And it can do all sorts of things like beat up the survivors and just crush their freaking soul. And it even has this extra ability where I can just grab his face and I can crush him until he's dead. And then you know what happens when he's dead? They lose time. It makes it so they lose the video game. Yeah, take that, Sam. You stupid kangaroo. Go eat some Vegemite, dang it. And now he's dead. So there's things that the survivors can do to kind of deal with these parts of the game. But that's another part of it where you can use your ultimate skill. It's a very powerful ability. It's very hard to deal with as a survivor. So it's one of those things that you use in a strategic moment. One other thing, I said that was the last thing, but one thing I forgot is, you know how each one of these things that we're looking at is a camera? Well, something to keep in mind with these cameras is that they are vulnerable. They can be broken. So if a survivor has the wherewithal to pay attention, they can come up there with their gun and then shoot it. Or if you're Jan, you know, we talked about hacking with Jan. Jan has abilities where she can disable cameras or disrupt them. So in the top right-hand corner, it'll say in operation 9. And then there's that bar, that white bar. Well, that white bar is the health of the camera. And if the survivors shoot out the camera's going to be disabled for a while. And then after a certain period of time, the camera will recover and then you can start using it again. But that's a big part of this game's strategy, where if you shoot out cameras, the mastermind can't really hurt you if they can't see you. So you'll see survivors that are good at this game purposely going and taking out cameras. But now this is what it looks like when the mastermind wins. You see how we have a -12? Well, now it's -27. Unless the survivor makes that positive,
As expected.
the mastermind's gonna win. So this is what it looks like when the mastermind wins. If the survivors let the time drop down to 0 or less than 0 and they don't recover, then they lose. A couple other quick tips. Take a look at this imposter zombie here. In the bottom right-hand corner, it says 0 out of 8. That means how many creatures you can have in this area. So I use that up, and then I'll get another creature spawned in here, and you'll see now it says 1 of 8. Well, now I can do another one. And then that'll be at 2 of 8, right? So I have 2 creatures out of 8. Area 1, you can have up to 8 creatures. Area 2, you can have up to 10. Area 3, you can have up to 12. So things scale. Same thing with the cameras. The cameras get more health per area. The creatures get more health per area. And you can have more creatures per area. The game is making it so that the mastermind also gets stronger per area. And something I didn't really cover before, but we'll talk about it real quick, is that the masterminds also unlock a new card per area. And they get to use it right away, and they get to use it throughout the rest of the game. So you just saw on the bottom, or on the right-hand side there, it said Tough Zombie Berserker Aura. So since we reached Area 2, I can now use a new card in my hand. So I guess I have 11 cards in my hand now. And I can use this guy, and he has his own special abilities. And then Area 3, you get another card unlocked too. So the mastermind is progressively getting stronger as the survivors advance through the game to help make it so that the mastermind has a better shot at stopping the survivor. Let's pop on out of here and talk about what we can do to help make you better at the game. Now, I have covered this game in extreme depth. We have played this game for like over 1,000 hours. I stream every single night, twitch.tv/SwingPoynt. If you ever want to check that out, links in the description. If you need help with anything in this game, let me give you a couple of places you can go. So let's say you want to play a certain survivor. Like I said earlier, look up Tyrone SwingPoynt or Tyrone Builds SwingPoynt. Same thing with Masterminds. If you want to learn a bit about Masterminds, I got a lot of Mastermind builds. So look up Annette SwingPoynt Resident Evil Resistance, or Annette Builds SwingPoynt, or Mastermind SwingPoynt, or Daniel Mastermind SwingPoynt. Like any keywords like that, if you want to learn how to play any of these characters. So Nikolai, Spencer, Alex, Annette. Also, a couple other videos I would recommend are the Advanced Survivor Tips video that I have. That goes into a lot of the in-depth things about this game, a lot of the nuances, because again, this game's very nuanced. I didn't even really brush into all of the details that are involved in this game, but this is a very deep game. So Advanced Survivor Tips will really catch you up to speed on how to be a good survivor. And then also I have a video for bioweapons. So all these little special like G-Birkin, the Tyrant, Yataveo, D-Field, Nemesis. I have a video that's all about how to be good at using them and also how to be good at countering them as a survivor. So those 2 videos will get you a long way in this game, on top of checking out whatever build you want to learn more about the game. I go super in depth in those videos. I talk about the numbers, I talk about the details, I talk about the fine aspects of this game that you're not going to know unless you either play this game a bunch or frankly you look it up on one of my videos. So I hope this helped. I know this video is like super late because it's already January and this game came out in April, but again, new people are always playing this game. So maybe those new people will see this video and it'll help them. So thank you guys so much for being here. My name is SwingPoynt. Like I said, I stream every single night on twitch.tv/SwingPoynt. I would love to see you guys there. And with that, you guys are the best. Thanks for taking care of me. Thanks for watching these videos. Thanks for joining the fam. Thank you for subscribing. And then I'll see you guys in the next video that we do around here.